Good morning, students. In today's genetics class, we are going to discuss multiple topics which also include under allelic interactions. And these topics are neutropy, multiple allele, pseudoallele, essential, and lethal genes. So let's begin our today's discussion. So we will start with pleiotropy. So genetic correlations result from pleiotropy. So for pleiotropy, to understand pleiotropy, we need to understand genetic correlations. When two characteristics are genetically correlated, selection for one characteristics will produce a correlated response in the other characteristics. Just try to understand the basic concept behind this. Two characteristics are genetically correlated. If you want to select one characteristics, it will produce a correlated response. That means like A and B are two different genes, but they are correlated. They are dependent. Now, if you try to produce some of the offspring with the variations of A gene, that also affect the B1, and you will get a correlated response in the other characteristics. Alternatively, a phenotypic correlation may result from a genetic correlation. So, but from our previous classes, we already have the idea of phenotypic and genotypic. So, phenotypic correlation may result from a genetic correlation. That means here the A and B, again, if we consider gene A and gene B, if they are genetically correlated, the chances are there their genetic correlation affects their phenotypic character, which means that the genes affecting two characters are associated. The primary genetic cause of phenotypic correlation is pleiotropy. The primary genetic cause of phenotypic correlation is pleiotropy, which is due to the effect of one gene on two or more characteristics. So let's see an example. So this is a single gene. In case of single gene, they can show a multiple trait like trait A, trait B, or trait C, whatever the traits are. But in case of pleiotropy, that may vary. Their effect may vary with the help of some another gene. That gene may present here or anywhere else in the chromosome. So, in humans, for example, many body structure respond to growth hormone. So, growth hormone, it's a very complex one. And there are genes that affect the amount of growth hormone secreted by the pituitary gland. People with certain gene product, people with certain genes produce high level of growth hormone, which increases their height as well as the hand size. So height and the hand size is correlated pattern. Other possesses genes that produce lower level of growth hormone, which leads to both short stature and small hands. Height and hand size are therefore phenotypically correlated in humans. So that is why I have already told you that height and hand size, they are phenotypically correlated. And their correlation is due to genetic correlation. They are not just correlated by some any kind of different matter. They are correlated because of their genetic correlation. The fact that both characteristics are affected by the same genes that control the amount of growth hormone. Fine. Now, genetically speaking, height and hand size are same characteristics because they are phenotypic manifestation of a single set of gene. So that is the difference. Phenotypic manifestation of a single set of gene. Just come to the previous slide. This is the phenotype. This is the pleiotropy. That means trait A and trait B both are the characteristics of this particular gene. and Z also. So they may have different phenotypic character, but their cause of their difference is same. That is depending on this particular gene. So when two characteristics are influenced by the same gene, they are genetically correlated. Now we are going to the concept of multiple alleles. This is very important, and several questions that come from this multiple allele, which I am going to solve you in our interaction classes. So, in case of multiple allele, most of the genetic system they must have examined so far consist of two alleles. In Mendel's piece also, you will have already experienced the presence of two different alleles, capital T, small t, capital Y, small y, whatever the 7 different characteristics are. For instance, one allele coded for round seed, another for wrinkle seed. In cat, one allele produces black coat, another produces gray coat. For some loci, more than two alleles are present within a group of individual. If more than two allele or more than two combinations of allele are possible in case of a group of individual, the locus has multiple alleles. So multiple alleles may also be referred to as the allelic series, which is very important. Allelic series. Although there may be more than two allele present within a group, the genotype of each diploid individual still consists of only two alleles. Fine. That is why, because we have we have a pair of homologous chromosome. So in case of the pair of homologous chromosome, we have the possibility of only having two allele in that kind of chromosome. So that is why the inherited characteristics encoded by multiple alleles is not different from the inheritance characteristics encoded by the two alleles. But except that greater variety of genotypes and phenotypes are possible. Varieties may be different or much higher. So we will come to the ABO blood group. This is quite different from the Amine locus. In case of Amine locus or Amine blood grouping pattern, we have only M and N. The combination of M, when either M is present or N is present. But in case of ABO blood group, we have a O term here, which is very important. So the three common allele for the ABO group locuses are IA, which code for A antigen, IB, which code for B antigen, and only I. I means there are neither A or nor B is present. So which codes for O antigen. So that is the case of the multiple allele. They have more than two allelic conditions. So when we represent the dominance relationship among the ABO allele, they are as follows. IA is always dominant over small I. IB is also dominant over small I. But IA and IB is equivalent. That means the IA and IB allele are both dominant over I and co-dominant with each other. That is the beauty of the multiple allele concept. They have they itself have a multiple type of combinations, and each and every combinations. If we consider IAI, we will get the dominant and recessive characteristics. In case of if we get the IAIB, we get the co-dominant character. So the AB phenotype is due to the presence of IA and IB allele. So that is why we actually have four different kind of blood group pattern, which results in the production of A and B antigen in the red blood cell. The individual with genotype II produce neither of the antigen and has the blood type O. We all know that. So this is the case of the IA ABO blood grouping pattern. So in case of A, there may be have two different combinations. Either it may be either IAIA or IAI. So in case of IAIA, both of the allele, both of the locus contain the A the dominant A characteristics, and in case of IAI, it's much of the heterozygous condition. And in this case also, IA is getting dominated, so the antigen type is A. Antibody is made by body is the B. So antibody the B antibody produced against the B. So if in case of the blood group, if we this is the blood recipient reactions to the donor blood antibodies. So A, B antibodies. So in this is the A, and if we give the B antibodies, it will not getting clotted. B, if we get the A antibodies, it will get clotted. In case of AB, if we transfuse the patient with the A blood, it will not get clotted. If we transfuse the patients with B blood, it will get clotted. If we transfuse the patient with AB blood, no antibodies are there. So it will not get clotted. If we get the O, A and B antibodies are there, it will get clotted. So in this case, the B genotype, the B blood type also have these two characters, IB and or IBI. In case of AB, only one characters are present, that is IAIB, and in case of O, only II is present. So type O donor can donate to any recipient. So if O donor can donate to any recipient, because they don't have any antigen, antigen, so no antibodies are made by the body. So they are called the universal donors. So, but type AB recipients can accept blood from any donor. They are universal recipients. So this is the AB. They can accept blood from any donor. Fine. So red blood cells that do not react with the recipient antibody remain evenly dispersed. Donor blood and recipient blood are compatible. So this is the particular case of the ABO blood grouping. So now we come to the our next topic, that is a pseudoalleles. Pseudoallelism is a state in which two genes with similar functions are located so close to one another on a chromosome that they were genetically linked. Don't confuse with the previous topics of pleiotropy. In case of pleiotropy, there is a genetic correlation, but only one gene is involved. Only one gene is able to produce different kind of traits. But in case of pseudoalleles, two genes with similar functions are located so close that they are genetically linked. This means that two genes are nearly always inherited together if they are genetically linked. Like if this is a chromosome, if one particular gene is present here, another is present closely here. So when they inherited, both of the genes are inherited together. They are always inherited together. Since the two genes have related functions, they may appear to act as a single gene. They are different. Their functions are related, and they are also inherited together. That is why it may possible that it may look like that they are two different genes, but they are single gene. Sorry, they are single gene, but they are two different genes. In rare cases, two linked pseudoalleles can be separated and recombined. You will know in our subsequent classes that and in molecular biology classes also what is recombination and that. So one hypothesis is that pseudoalleles are formed as a result of gene duplication event. So when you are going through the topic of mutation, you will know the term of gene duplication. In some cases, duplication of gene. A particular A gene is getting duplicated and form a different A prime gene. Fine. So the duplicated genes can undergo gene evolution to develop new functions. So what are the characteristics of pseudoalleles? These are closely linked alleles. They are very much closely linked, within which crossing over occur. So if we look at a crossing over event, so if this is a particular chromosome and this is a particular chromosome, And if crossing over occur, that crossing over occur, if a particular if a particular gene is present here, if in case of crossing over, that if crossing over occur in this particular point, the in always this particular domain will go together. They affect the same character, and the both of the genes present in a particular locus in a closely manner, they affect the same character. For example, a red eye color of Drosophila. You will get a hell lot of example with the lot Drosophila. So red eye color of Drosophila has different mutants like white and apricot. They affect pigmentation. That is they affect the same character. So they are allelic. They can undergo recombination, and that is they are non-allelic. If two genes can undergo the recombination process, so we call it the non-allelic gene. But if they are not able to undergo the recombination process, we call their allelic genes. So now we come to the concepts of essential gene. From the term only, you are able to understand that they are essential. They are essential for what? They are essential for our survival. So essential genes are those genes for an organism that are thought to be crucial, and their presence is very much critical for its survival. However, being essential, it is highly dependent on the circumstances in which the organism lives. For instance, a gene required to digest starch is only essential if starch is the only source of energy, like us. In our cases, we are not able to digest cellulose because we don't have cellulose enzyme, but we have the amylase enzyme, and that is why we have different kinds of amylase enzymes: salivary amylase, pancreatic amylase. So we have different kinds of amylase enzyme, and this amylase enzyme is responsible to digest starch, which have another name called amylose. So that is why, for our case, if we do not have the amylase gene or amylase producing gene, that may be very difficult, or very that organism may not survive, because for our case we get our energy from the starch only. Our main food source is starch. Recently, systematic attempts have been made to identify those genes that are absolutely required to maintain life, provided that all nutrients are available. Such experiments have led to the conclusion that the absolutely required number of genes for bacteria in order to about 250 to 300. The same count is currently going on for the human also. So hence, a vast majority of genes are not essential, and many can be deleted without consequences. That is also the part of mutation. That is a deletion mutation. But in case of that deletion mutation, we may not have any side effect, or may not have any effect, or that effect we termed as a consequence. At least under most circumstances, essential gene encode protein that maintain a certain central metabolism, DNA replication, translate genes into proteins, maintain a basic cellular structure, and mediate transport process. So these are the basic life processes. Most of the genes are not essential but convey selective advantages and increase fitness. That means most of the genes are non-essential, but they are required. They are required for our healthy survival. Now we come to the topic of lethal allele. What is the meaning of lethal? Lethal means if this allele is present in some kind of a organism, that organism will not survive. The lethal allele is one of that causes death. It is an early stage of development and often before birth, and so some genotypes may not appear among the progeny. So this is a certain type of condition, that if this particular allele is present, that organism will not survive. That means this allele is not suitable for the population. In 1905, Louisian Cugnot reported a peculiar pattern of inheritance in mice. This is a peculiar pattern of inheritance. Just look into the matter. When he mated two yellow mice, approximately of their offspring were yellow and were non-yellow. When he test crossed the yellow mice, he found that all were heterozygotes. Fine. When he test crossed, he found that all were heterozygotes. He was never able to obtain a yellow mouse that breed true. What is the meaning? What is the meaning of that? So just like if we go for a cross, capital Y, sorry, not capital Y small y into capital Y small y, in each and every cases, we get a population of capital Y plus capital Y plus small y. This is the probable condition. This will be the yellow mice, this will be the white mice. Fine. But when he test cross this yellow mice with the test cross means what? Test cross means breeding of F2 individual with the any of its homozygous recessive parents. That means cross between this capital Y small y with the small y, we always get a population of mice, that is capital Y small y, capital Y small y, and small y. That means in each and every time you will get a mice with a recessive condition, with a heterozygous condition. Because if you already have idea for the test process that if if a particular mice is homozygous, a particular organism is homozygous, test cross will give you the 100% of the dominant character. But if the organism is heterozygous, the test cross will give you the 50-50 ratio of the dominant and the recessive one. Here you will always get a 50-50 ratio. You never get a 100% ratio. That means you never get a particular yellow mice having a dominant homozygous condition. That is called the true breeding mice. So this is the particular case. Capital Y small y. When you cross, you will get capital Y, small y, and small y. But when you cross, but whenever this capital Y formation is there, that mice will die, and so 2/3 of the progeny are yellow. If a mice is not born, we cannot consider it as a progeny. So 2/3 of the progeny is yellow, are yellow, and 1/3 of the progeny are non-yellow. So Q0 originally crossed two mice heterozygous for yellow. Normally this cross would be expected to produce YYY. I have already shown you the crosses. The homozygous capital Y mice are conceived but never complete development. So if this kind of allele is present in a homozygous dominant condition, they will never survive, which leaves 2:1 ratio for capital Y and small y in the observed offspring. All yellow mice are heterozygous. So that is the concept of lethal allele. So lethal allele, when they present in a homozygous condition, the organism will not survive. But lethal allele, if they present in a heterozygous condition, the organism will survive and there will be a healthy individual. But they have the potential to produce a particular organism having a dominant character, but that organism will not survive and they will not cross the developmental phase. So That's the end of the today's lecture, and thank you for listening.